Today we're in cooperation with Meat and Livestock Australia. The MLA Quality Shield is your Australian quality assurance. Now I'm going to show you how to butcher a McPhee tenderloin. McPhee brothers are from Central Australia. With over 40 years in the meat business, this private company located in Victoria, the cows are free range in Australian grasslands and there's no growth hormones administered to the cattle that are raised antibiotic free. First, let's talk about knives. It's always important to keep your knives very sharp. To do this, you hone every time you use your knife. By honing, you use a steel like this. It has guards all the way down here to protect your hand, and you just drag the knife at between an 18 and 22 degree bevel, the same number of times on each side. I usually go between 6 and 8 times. Now, it's important that when the knife does not come back from honing, that you use a whetstone. This stone has two different sides. It has a fine side and a coarse side. You basically do the exact same thing. At that same 18 to 22 degree bevel, you drag the knife across the stone the same number of times on each side. Usually on the coarse side, I go about 6, and then I'll turn it over to the fine side and do maybe 4. Take your steel and drag it across maybe 3 or 4 different times. And then finally, wash your knife to remove any of that grit that came from the stone or any other particles that came from the honing. Beef tenderloin yields the much desired fillet steak. You can also get Chateaubriand as well as filet mignon. There's other cuts that you're also going to yield, and we'll discuss those as we go along. Now let's get started breaking down the meat. Take your fingers and pull off any surface fat, and with this grass-fed, there's not a whole lot of surface fat that is on this tenderloin. You'll see that there's 4 distinct pieces that are on every tenderloin. You have this long piece that with McPhee they pull a lot of it off, but this is called the chain. Then you have this bottom piece that kind of wraps around. You can see that it wraps all the way around the tail piece of the tenderloin. This is called the barrel. It's more flavorful, so a lot of chefs will keep this for their VIPs. And a lot of people will then call this the VIP cut. Up here at the tip, this is the actual mignon. So down about 15 cm, people will cut it, and then that is actually called your filet mignon. Chateaubriand will come from the center cut. First, we'll pull off this chain. Again, use your fingers as much as you possibly can and just carve it right out. This has got a lot of tendons in it. You can see that it's not clear meat. So we'll deal with this here in a little bit and make this into some satays, or you can also make this into beef tips. Let's take care of the barrel. Pull this barrel, and at the same time that you're pulling, use your knife, and off it comes. Depending on the size of this barrel, it can either yield 1 or 2 steaks. In this case, it's going to give us 2 steaks. Now, there's a piece of silver skin right here. This needs to come off. This is totally inedible. Then turn it over. There's 1 more piece of silver skin in here that needs to go. Okay, and you can see that there's a line. Just carve out that line. And then remove the silver skin that's left. Most of your fillet steaks in this VIP even are going to be between 150 and 250 grams. Okay, this is going to yield about, I think that's around 180. Okay, so these are your two VIPs. If you don't sell them as VIPs, you can just trim this back out to make it flat so that it'll sit nicely, and that's a perfect fillet. You have this other silver skin that you have to deal with. That has to come off. It's totally inedible. It's like chewing on a rubber band. So off it comes. Make sure that all of that silver skin is removed, but try not to take any extra meat. There's one more band that we need to get rid of. That is going to run all the way down. Didn't get all of it. If you flip it over, this is, depending on how good the packer is, this is where the tenderloin meets up with the ribs. Some packers that are not as good as others, you'll see big gashes here, but this is very, very clean. Now, this part right here, again, is the mignon. So we're gonna cut that, and some people will tie this. That's called the filet mignon. The barrel end, which again can end up being another nice steak. We've got one more steak to come off right here. And this center cut is the Chateaubriand. So for trussing, you just use butcher's twine and make a slip knot in one end. Take it all the way down to the end. Keep the knot on the top and tighten it up. This is your initial. You're going to want this to be pretty close to the end. Then take your hand and then just like this and straight in. You want all of these to be very close to the same amount of position so that it cooks nicely. And remember that since you're roasting, you'll be able to see all of those marks. At the end, we'll just put a double knot. Take off the ends, and this is ready for roasting.